Luxuries are cheap, essentials are not. What's going on? A 4K smart TV costs just $200 today. You can get a powerful smartphone for less than $800. But try renting a one-bedroom apartment in New York or San Francisco. It'll cost you over $3,000 a month. A simple grocery trip, that's easily $150. And don't even think about a hospital visit without insurance. One Europe trip could wipe your entire savings. So what happened? Why are luxuries getting cheaper while essentials keep climbing? In this video, we're diving into the economic shift that's reshaping America and giving you the tools to not just survive, but thrive. In 2025 America, you can walk into a store and buy an iPhone that rivals a Hollywood film studio in power for under $1,000. You can find a 55-inch 4K TV for less than a week's worth of groceries. Even flying across the country can be cheaper than filling your gas tank twice. But now try this. Look for an apartment under $1,000 in a major city. Or cover a trip to the ER without insurance. Or afford a 4-year college education without taking on crushing debt. These aren't luxuries, they're basic, foundational needs. And they're slipping further out of reach. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a pattern, and one that's become impossible to ignore. In today's economy, luxury is scalable. Mass production makes it cheap. Essentials? Not so much. Housing is tied to land. Healthcare is tied to complex regulations and powerful lobbies. Education is shackled by a debt-based funding model. And food, controlled by a handful of megacorporations optimizing for profits, not nutrition. We live in a world where the average person can own the same smartphone as a billionaire, but can't access affordable dental care. Where high-speed internet is more accessible than clean, affordable water in some cities. It's a strange paradox. America is richer in stuff, yet poorer in security. And it's affecting all of us. You can live in a tiny apartment, work 2 jobs, and still own the latest phone. But you might not be able to afford a safe neighborhood or quality childcare. And this isn't about bad budgeting. It's about a broken equation, where innovation and global competition drive down prices for non-essentials, while essentials are burdened with red tape, scarcity, and monopolistic control. So how did we get here? Let's rewind and compare where we were and where we are now. Let's take a trip back in time to the year 2000. If you wanted a flat-screen TV, you'd pay over $1,500. Smartphones didn't even exist. Most of us had flip phones or Nokias that couldn't send pictures. A round-trip international flight, easily over $1,000. And high fashion. That was exclusive to the elite. Owning luxury meant you had made it. Now fast forward to 2025. Today, you can grab a 55-inch 4K TV at Walmart for $200. A smartphone? Even the flagship iPhone 15 Pro, packing more processing power than all the computers used for the moon landing, starts under $1,000. Budget airlines now offer coast-to-coast flights for less than $100 if you book right. In fast fashion, brands like Shein and H&M have made it possible to look runway-ready for under $30. That's the magic of mass production and global supply chains. The more units you produce, the cheaper each one becomes. iPhones, for example, cost Apple roughly $500 to manufacture. But if they had to make just one, without the economies of scale and the supply chain, it would cost over $70,000. That's the power of modern industrial efficiency. But let's look at essentials. Back in 2000, the average US home cost around $120,000. Today, it's well over $400,000. And in cities like San Francisco or Austin, It's not unusual to see homes listed for over $1 million. Rent? Once manageable at around $600 a month. Today, $1,800 is a low-end price, with many paying over $3,000 in urban centers. College tuition. Previously, $12,000 to $20,000 for a 4-year degree. Now it ranges from $80,000 to $200,000, and that's not counting room, board, or the interest on student loans. Healthcare is another mountain. A family insurance plan cost $6,000 per year in 2000. Today, it's more than $24,000 annually, often with high deductibles, limited coverage, and endless red tape. One hospital visit can destroy a decade of savings. And food. It's no longer just a grocery run, it's a budgeting event. Supply chain disruptions, climate-driven crop failures, and corporate markups have pushed the cost of basics, milk, eggs, bread, to record highs. So why are luxuries cheaper and necessities more expensive? You can mass-produce an iPhone. You can't mass-produce land. You can optimize a factory line, but you can't optimize the zoning process for affordable housing. You can use robotics to make clothes faster, but not to provide quality healthcare at scale. Essentials don't benefit from the same scalability as luxury items. Land is limited. Water shortages are real. Farmland is consolidating under corporate control. And climate instability is making food production more vulnerable each year. So in 2030, luxury won't be a Rolex or a Tesla. It might be having time to spend with your family. It might be having a quiet, green backyard. It might be owning a home without a crushing mortgage. It might be freedom from debt, chronic stress, or burnout. In the near future, peace, time, land, and well-being might become the new status symbols. That's not doom and gloom, it's a call to clarity. Because if we know what's becoming scarce, we can start protecting and prioritizing it now. Let's not be distracted by what's flashy and forget what's foundational. The real flex, a life built on security, not stuff. How to navigate this shift. So how do we respond to this upside-down economy? Step mindset shift. Stop confusing the ability to buy cheap luxuries with actual wealth. Just because you own the latest gadgets doesn't mean you're financially secure. Real wealth isn't about what you can buy, it's about what you can sustain. It's time to think differently. Start focusing on things that appreciate in value: skills, real estate, and long-term investments. Your income is your greatest asset, but only if it's building something more. Build a safety net, not a gadget collection. Step 2, practical strategy. Prioritize needs over wants, no matter how tempting the low price tag looks. Luxuries have become psychological traps. It's easy to justify another streaming subscription or a new phone when they're cheap. But over time, that adds up, especially if you're not covering your basics first. Create a budget that respects your future, not just your present. Look into inflation-protected investments. REITs, index funds, and even land, if accessible, are tools that hold value over time. Don't just save, invest strategically. If buying property feels out of reach, explore fractional ownership platforms or real estate investment groups. You don't need to own an entire building to benefit from rising housing values. Build income-generating assets. This could be a side hustle, a digital product, a YouTube channel, or rental income. The goal isn't to hustle forever, but to create something that makes money while you sleep. And most importantly, invest in yourself. In a world of automation, your most secure asset is your adaptability. Learn new skills. Upskill. Reskill. Whatever keeps you one step ahead of the curve. It's easy to get distracted by cheap dopamine, but you don't want to wake up in 10 years owning every luxury item and none of the essentials. This economy rewards clarity, not consumption. And the earlier you start shifting your habits, the better your chances of building real freedom, not just digital comfort. Here's the bottom line. Cheap luxuries are the smokescreen. The real challenge today, affording the basics and building a life with real security. In 2025, owning the latest phone is easy. But owning peace of mind, that's rare. So ask yourself, are you spending to feel rich or building to be free? If this hit home, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and drop a comment. What's the most basic thing you now struggle to afford in 2025 America? This is Raveling Money, where we untangle the truth behind your wallet. Subscribe for more. Wages haven't kept up either. Since the 1970s, productivity has surged, but real wages? Nearly flat. The average American family today earns more in dollars, but those dollars buy significantly less, especially when applied to essentials. This gap between the falling cost of wants and the rising cost of needs is creating an illusion. You might own a smart home assistant, an iPhone, and a massive TV, but still live paycheck to paycheck. That's not wealth. That's a consumer trap. It's the quiet crisis of modern America, a generation that feels rich in lifestyle but poor in future security. And here's the kicker. This shift isn't temporary. It's structural. And unless we understand how it works, we risk getting stuck in a cycle of surface-level comfort with deep financial fragility. So now that we've seen the data, let's dig into why this shift happened in the first place. Why this shift happened. So why is it that luxuries are cheaper than ever, but basics feel increasingly out of reach? The answer lies in three powerful forces shaping our economy: mass production, artificial scarcity, and wage stagnation. Let's start with mass production and globalization. The reason a 4K TV costs less than a week of groceries isn't magic, it's manufacturing scale. Tech companies like Apple, Samsung, and Sony produce millions of units, often in countries where labor costs are a fraction of US wages. Supply chains stretch across continents, optimized for speed, volume, and cost efficiency. The more units you make, the cheaper each one becomes. That's why smartphones, TVs, and fast fashion get cheaper year after year, even as they get better. But this formula doesn't work for essentials. Take housing. You can't outsource an apartment to China. Land is local, fixed, and heavily regulated by zoning laws that often limit affordable housing. Construction costs are high, especially with labor shortages, rising materials prices, and permitting delays. The result? A permanent housing crunch in most US cities. Healthcare is even more tangled. Unlike a phone, you can't mass produce a doctor or an ICU bed. The American healthcare system is uniquely privatized, driven by profit, insurance negotiations, pharmaceutical lobbying, and medical patent protections. Every layer adds cost without necessarily adding value. Education, too, is locked behind paywalls. University tuition has soared, not because the quality has drastically improved, but because of bloated administration, reduced public funding, and a debt-based model that's normalized $100,000 degrees. And food? Controlled by a handful of massive corporations focused on vertical integration. Rising transportation costs, extreme weather, and corporate consolidation all make essentials more expensive and less competitive. Now let's talk wages. Since the 1970s, worker productivity in America has skyrocketed. But real wages? They've barely moved. The average worker today generates more value than ever, but keeps a smaller slice of the pie. Why? Corporate profits have soared, but union power has shrunk. The gig economy has exploded, and globalization has put downward pressure on wages across the board. So while it feels like you have more streaming subscriptions, smart devices, fast delivery, you actually have less when it comes to long-term stability. This shift creates what economists call consumption illusion. You feel wealthier because you can buy things that look luxurious. But try buying a house. Try paying off medical debt. Try sending your kid to college debt-free. That's when the illusion breaks. And here's another twist. The system is designed this way. Tech and luxury are encouraged because they're profitable and scalable. Essentials are neglected or monopolized because they're harder to produce, harder to scale, and often tied up in government red tape or market inefficiencies. In essence, we've optimized the economy to deliver dopamine, not durability. This explains the paradox. America is a country where the latest iPhone is affordable, but a tooth extraction isn't. Where you can order sushi from your phone, but can't afford the ER. Where luxury is mass-produced and survival is premium-priced. And until we rebalance the equation between wants and needs, we'll keep falling deeper into this strange economic trap. What's next? So where is this all going? If luxuries are cheap now and essentials are expensive, what will the next decade look like? Here's the twist. The definition of luxury is already shifting. As AI and automation take over more services, things like telehealth, online education, and virtual legal consultations will become cheaper and more accessible. That's the upside. More people can access services that used to be gatekept behind high costs or institutions. But at the same time, true essentials, housing, quality food, clean air, safe neighborhoods are becoming even more exclusive.